I'm going to do that right now. So you won't have probably all this, and you certainly wouldn't have this admin. So there's two things that I'm going to do. The first thing, where your initials are, all of you can do demo mode. And for that purpose is anytime that you're doing a demo or a demonstration like this, you should always have it in demo mode so that it doesn't show all of the students' data. So I am going to put it in demo mode. And you'll see it will X out some of the students' important data. And that will always be found under your initials, and everybody has that access. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go into and impersonate a teacher. So give me 1 minute. And this teacher is very dear to me, so I know she will not mind if I impersonate her. So yeah, so as a teacher, when you log on to Performance Matters, this is usually what their screen will look like. And usually when you log on, it's my dashboard, and this is what they'll see. So first few icons I want you all to pay attention to. You have this question mark right here, very important. This is basically your helpline. Anytime you need any help on any screen that you're on, click on that question mark. So right now we're on the dashboard where you have all the student information. If you had any questions on this specific page, if you clicked on that question mark, it is going to give you a rundown of this whole entire page. It's very specific, it's very detailed, and it would be a great description of what's on this page and tell you all about it. So remember that question mark, that's your helpline. The next icon is the what do we call this? I'm losing words for today, is your little global search. This is great for all of Performance Matters. It basically helps you search globally. So if you want to see something about assessments or contents or criteria or so on, because I know a lot of the teachers, they also enter assessments or they enter different types of assessment benchmarks or grades and those sorts of things. You would certainly want to use this icon. Next would be your initials. And if you click on your initials, that's going to give you basically your overall profile of what you have access in the organization. The next is the drop down, and I'm going to show you that drop down when we get to baseball card. And then finally is the applications menu. This is another menu. Again, it will give you, basically tell you what access you have in Performance Matters, and you can click on these two again to get more information. So I just wanted to give you basically a rundown quickly of all these different icons. To me, the most important for new teachers would be that question mark. Okay, so for today's purposes, we're going to start with the baseball card report. So you're going to come over here to reports, and you're going to click on reports. You're going to get that drop down menu, and you're going to click on baseball card report. And for this particular teacher, she has access to 42 students. If you're a self-contained student or self-contained teacher, you might only have 20 students or 21 students that you'll have access to. And you can see, this is what I was talking about, the X out, that's where the demo, that tells you you're in demo mode. Okay, so that's the first part. So these are all my students that I have access to. And the next part of the report, we're going to build a report today, and I'm going to teach you how to use this manage columns. So you can use manage columns up here, or you can use the icon right here. So you see that these icons are the same thing, and they do the same, they're basically the same feature. So if you want to click on it here, or if you want to click on it up here, you're going to get the same attributes for a student. So usually this is what I do first when I'm setting up my template to make a report. And these are the attributes. So these are basically the different attributes that I want to identify my students. So for this particular report, I want to know if my students are ESE. I want to know if they're free and reduced lunch. I want to know their student ID. And if you'll notice, there's several student IDs in here, but for this particular report, I'm going to just use the PM student ID. And I want to know if they're ELL. Okay, and always make sure that you hit apply. So now you can see I've got my name of my students, I've got their student IDs, I can see if they're ESE, yes or no, if they're ELL, and if they're free reduced. Okay, so now I'm starting to build my report. Then I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to begin to add some data. And for this particular report, I want to add first some data, some basically information and data. And I know especially for our elementary and even for our middle and high school, a lot of times I know you want to build reports where you just have like their birth date, their parent contact information, that type of information. So these are great reports. You build them, you save them down on your desktop, and then you have them there forever. So that information, and this is a great folder to make note of, and especially tell your new teachers, it's called the Other Metrics 2 folder. This folder has a lot of information on performance matters that I don't think our teachers are aware of, that there's information there. This is where they can find their grades. They can find if their students are 504, there's attendance information, there's birthday, there's contact information, there's the data entry for the DUCE for ELL students. You can see there's all types of information in this folder. So make note of that. It's called the Other Metrics 2. So for today's purpose, I am going to click on the folder. I want to know their birthdays. So I'm going to click on the birthday folder, and you can see we even have that in different formats, but I'm going to click on the month, day, and year, which is very traditional. And so I've clicked on that one. And then of course I'm going to click on the contact info. And I want to know the parent or guardian name, and I also want to know their phone number. So you can see those are my columns right there. So I'm going to click on close that folder up, but again, take note of all that information in that folder that the teachers could add if they wanted to. And now I'm going to add some data. And for today's purpose, I'm going to use iReady, but if you are a secondary teacher, you can come up here, you can look at your state and local. You've got, in this folder, you've got FSA data, the assessments folder. You can take a look in that folder. You've got all different types of information in that folder as well. Since I am under a 5th grade teacher, you're only going to see FSA in there, but if you are a secondary teacher, you'll see EOC data in there. You'll see all your different secondary information in there. So you can certainly click on those folders as well if you wanted to build a report using that type of data. But for today, I'm going to use the iReady. So I'm going to use the reading. I'm going to click on the reading folder, and since we are in the year 2021, I am going to click on the overall fall 2021, And that was the first diagnostic. And then I am going to click on the overall winter 2021, which was the second diagnostic that my students had taken. And so you can see I've built a report, and you can continue to add data if you want, but for this purpose, you know, this is all I want for this data. And what I always recommend is to download it, and then save it to your desktop. And it really saves it in a nice Excel spreadsheet. And I always tell everybody, then save it in an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can manipulate it in your Excel spreadsheet. So there's two ways. You can download it, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm trying to, trying to follow the script here so I can stay on task here with you, so then you'll be able to share it with your teachers. So you click the download, and you'll see it'll always come in the bottom left hand corner there, and it's called BB card. You'll see a pop-up, and then you'll click on the pop-up, which is an Excel, and that's what your sheet will look like. Always enable editing. And you know, you have to be a little savvy with Excel, but it's fairly easy. Usually the first thing I do is click on my top row there and just do some quick formatting. And I just do some wrapping of text so I can see the columns very quickly of what they are. And then you might have to do some adjustment of the data. And so you can see the columns a little bit better, but very little of adjusting the data so that you can see everything. And then always save it to your desktop. And basically that's it. My sheet is ready to go. And then if you need to share it, you know, maybe with some of your colleagues, you save it and then you can send it to them. So very easy. And this is what I recommend the best way of beginning to build reports. And you've also created a template, because basically this is a template that you've created, and then you can then continue to add data. And this is usually what I do at the district when I'm working with schools and creating different data templates for them in relation to MTSS. Now, there's another way that you can also share this as well. We have a share mode here. So you click on this and you can see it's come up with a URL. So basically what you do is you highlight this, you copy this, or you can do a Control-C, open up your email, paste it in the email, and then send it to whomever you want to share it with. So that's another way. Now here's the glitch. Whomever you're sharing this with, as long as they have access to your students in Performance Matters, they'll be able to see this report. If you happen to share, let's say, this report, let's say you're a 5th grade teacher, but you share this report with maybe one of your 3rd grade colleagues, and they don't have access to your 5th grade students, well, they're not going to be able to have, they won't be able to see this report. They might be able to see the top columns, but they're not going to be able to see who the students are because they don't have access to these students in Performance Matters. So you can only share these reports with the people who have access to your students. You can share these reports with your administrators. You can share these reports with your literacy coach because they have access to your students in Performance Matters. They'll be able to access your report. So that's the only downfall with the share report. Those people have to have access to your students. So in that case, I always recommend you download it into an Excel spreadsheet and then share it with a person if they don't have access to your students and you want to share your report with people who don't have access. Okay, so that's how you build a report. Again, you, according to your grade level, you can see this is a 5th grade teacher who I am impersonating. You can see there's many other folders here. There's one other folder I did not mention that I want to. It's called the Early Warning Indicator folder. That is another folder to please take note of. Very important. Has all the different absences and tardies. You know that's very important, especially for MTSS, the early warning indicators, especially when we're bringing students up and we're talking about attendance and IPST. So make sure you take note of that folder as well. And also for my secondary folks, early warning indicators, we use that to track students as well to make sure they're on target for graduation. And your folders will look a lot, or you have a lot more information in your early warning indicator folders than you can see at the elementary level. So make sure you take note of that folder as well. Okay, moving right along. I wanted to just tell you about 3 more features. We have features which is called sorting. So I'm going to keep my data sheet right here, and I wanted to show you with this one data column of iReady how we sort. So this little icon right here with the up and down arrows, I call it, we can sort this data. So you can sort it from A to Z or Z to A. So it's basically high to low or low to high. So A to Z is going to sort us from low to high. And from Z to A is going to sort it from high to low. Okay, so that's the sort symbol that you can use to sort your data, and you can do that for sorting. Again, your numbers are alphabetical, so you can do that as for names as well. So if you wanted to sort alphabetically, you can do that. And then our next feature I wanted to show you very quickly is called color swatching, which is another neat feature. So let's go back to this first column here. Let's say I only wanted to hone in only on all my kids who, just my yellow and greens. I don't want to see any of my at-risk kids, which would be unusual, but let's say that's just something I wanted to do. So you can see I clicked on the red, and I've whited it out here, and I'm going to come over here now and say apply swatching. So once I apply the swatching, you can see all my red students are gone. Okay, now if I wanted them back, all I would do is come back here, click the red off. So now that it's solid, come back over and hit apply swatching. And my lovely at-risk students are back again. Okay, so that's what the color swatching is all about. And of course, we could do it vice versa. I could say I just want to see my at-risk students. So now I'm swatching out my green and my yellow, and I'm going to hit apply swatching. And now I only see my at-risk students. All right, so lot of ways to play with your color swatching there. And finally, the last feature I wanted to show you is called zero suppression. So this last column, you'll notice we have a few students that don't have scores. So that's are the students that we call zero suppression. So basically, we're going to get rid of the students that don't have any scores. And that's what this blank is for. So we would click on that box, we would hit apply swatching, and now those students would be gone. And that's what zero suppression is, okay? So that's what all of these different boxes up there stand for, and that's what this apply swatching is for. And again, if you want them back, you click it off, you hit apply swatching, and then those students would be back. Okay, so I think we're right back on time at 4:55.
We are, Shelley. You did an awesome job. I love this training. And guys in that out there, our participants, if you could go onto the chat and just get that ready. I just want to ask a couple questions. And Shelley, thank you so much. That was amazing. I love that training. I loved using it. And I have been at the district now for about, well, I guess it's 8 years. I use this all the time previously to coming here in my classroom, just getting that data. But one of the things that you talked about that I did not even know about was other metrics to folder. I just didn't even know that that existed, and maybe it didn't 9 years ago, but lots of great information there. So mentors, just in the chat box, will you give me a yes or a no if you have already used this information with your new teachers, if your mentors in the school have met with their new teachers to share this information? If we could just put a couple in, there we go. At Sherwood, no. And I'm just gonna pick your brains a little bit and ask a couple of questions about some no's. Great. Let's see. Corey, if you could unmute yourself. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Corey, yeah, awesome. So I'm seeing lots of no's, I get it. Do you feel this might be a little too overwhelming? Or it just, you haven't gotten to that point yet?
Yeah, I think really for right now, with everything being a lot of hybrid and, trying to cover, my mentors are covering for teachers who are absent and we can't get substitutes for. And so they're focusing more on how they can help their teachers inside the classroom.
Right.
And so this, Performance Matters has been more of something that our leadership team at school has used, not so much our new teachers.
Not
just a bit
so
too
much the new
overwhelming for them
teachers.
this year.
Okay, and then Corey, do the veteran teachers there use it?
Yes, the veteran teachers definitely do. But even like our full first year going into second year teachers, not as much. We just got a couple of newbies too, so they're just learning their way around school.
Yeah, their first day in, this isn't something we would want to share with them.
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah,
Thank you, Corey.
Sure thing.
Yeah, Nancy Calderon, if you could unmute. Are you able to talk, Nancy?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. So at the secondary level, what do you think?
Right now, our new teachers, some of them are new to teaching in general. It's the first year, and it would have been really overwhelming, I think, up until now. Like, they just are trying so hard to get their feet underneath them, and they've been bombarded. So typically, I would have loved to have gotten to this by now, but my sense is that they're at the just enough, and so it'll be something that we'll get to soon.
What do you think? Like, and we can put this in the chat now too. Are you all thinking maybe, like after spring break, this might be something to show, or closer towards April? And Nancy, you can talk. Yeah. And actually, we've kind of got a smaller group. If anybody wants to unmute and share, I see Patty Fox. So Patty, I know you're at Palm Bay High. So the secondary level there. I think this is really important information. Again, but I'm always coming from my perspective where I really like numbers and data and, like to see the student scores. But maybe, okay, so Danielle. Yeah, Danielle, why don't you unmute, please, and share what you think?
Good evening. So I feel like every time I get onto Performance Matters and the baseball card, it's like a huge rabbit hole for me. And what I meant to just spend like a quick 15 minutes doing, I look at the clock and I'm like an hour deep. I think that we have instructed a lot of our new teachers to utilize Performance Matters for inputting data and also to look up parent contact information. But we really haven't specified for them all the different ins and outs in terms of comparing data. And the reason being is because our school utilizes Google spreadsheets for data that we upload for each class, and it's shared throughout the grade level, which is then shared without our MTSS team and IPST teams. So for them to kind of have this and it's nicely color coded, I think that it's just, something easy. But for me right now, I just feel like once we get closer to FSA, it might be a more appropriate time. I know too, just taking into account since we don't have that FSA testing data for the grade levels from the previous year.
Right.
I can see this only being beneficial for really those fifth grade. I mean, I'm in elementary, so fifth grade through sixth grade students, we're going to kind of see the more need. But again, we just utilize our own spreadsheets. And I feel like the purpose of doing our own spreadsheets is so that we're physically inputting the data, which for me just kind of makes me think about the data a little bit more.
Right.
But I
you know what I think you brought up? Oh, I'm sorry. I think you brought up a great point. Around the FSA testing time would be a great time to just share a little bit of this, of how it looks. And but you're right about the previous year. Mike is giving a point there. Look up. Mike, do you want to unmute and share?
I'm just thinking of just different ways they could use the data. So, maybe, and again, this might be more of a secondary thing as far as when they're making recommendations for what students are going to take next year. Typically February, start, making those recommendations for students and, having some previous history and all that. That way they're really, I think Performance Matters helps teachers get a more well-rounded picture of a student and not necessarily just maybe what they've seen the last 6 months. As they're making recommendations. So it's just another tool to use to make sure that they're really looking at the whole student when they're making recommendations and not just, based on maybe some limited experiences we've had with them this year.
Awesome. I think that's good. I see I'm getting some comments in the chat.
Can I say real quick too?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like, I loved Performance Matters because you could really hone in on what standard the students missed. And I do find it to be a rabbit hole, because I love data. So really looking at what do I need to reteach and what have students missed. And it's a great way for those early warning indicators. Like, I lived on that.
So Lisa, you working with the brand new teachers, maybe after spring break, close to FSA, I mean, looking at data and things like that, do you think that's an appropriate time?
I would say, yeah. And our thought process with introducing this information now or trying to get the mentors to share the information now was knowing retention letters at the elementary level will start coming out soon, knowing that they're looking at attendance reports, looking at what do I need to reteach going into FSA testing. So really, utilizing Performance Matters with all of the great things that it has to offer.
I'm back you, Danielle. It was a rabbit hole for me. I mean, I just, I would go back years because I was in secondary and just watch the progress. And then, there is so much great data in here. And, but you're right about new teachers. We have to just feed it slowly and not overwhelm them, read the room to make sure that, we're not watching their heads blow off when they see all of these different charts. And, I love how they're color coded, but it can still be overwhelming. So really read your school, the culture there with how they are handling it, if they're overwhelmed, and maybe closer to FSA and after spring break. But I think, Shelley, this was such a great presentation. And I did see in some of the comments, people learned some new tricks. I certainly did. I didn't know about that other metrics 2 folder. So thank you so much. And Lead Mentors, welcome to the new year. We're so excited. There was such a glitchy kind of thing going on with our teams. So we didn't give you the appropriate welcome back and happy 2021. And Linda's right behind me now, so she can share that. We're so happy that you joined us tonight, and we take in all of your feedback, all the information you give us from the schools, and we just want the best program for our new teachers and for you, because you truly are the heart of Brevard. I know I say that all the time in the newsletters, but you really, really are. So thank you so much. Linda, do you want to add anything?
No, other than, again, thank you. I appreciate all you do. And, you know, at any time, you're welcome to email me with questions, concerns. Our next lead mentor chat, I believe, is coming up in February. I don't have my calendar in front of me. So
do you remember what it's about?
Yes. And what I was going to tell you, we're going to be doing a whole entire session on wellness. Yes. So that's going to be real fun. And we'll learn about different tricks and tips to keep ourselves healthy, maybe do a little bit of mindfulness. So that'll be a really fun one coming up in February.
So,
and we need it after tonight's issues we had.
we all know what these technical things are like, right? So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. I'm going to mute you, but not stop.